I'm almost done detailing out the engine compartment happier. The last area I'm working on is this area right in here. It's the area underneath this coolant reservoir tank. There's these pipes, coolant pipes that work around this area, along here under the firewall, and back up underneath here. This is the windshield wiper motor assembly, and then you've got this bracket here. Even with this tank out, by the way, you still don't get rid of the bracket, and it's really hard to work down in here. We wanted to do some sanding and cleaning of the metal. There was some slight surface rust on this. So we're sitting there looking at this, say, well, we need something a little tougher than sandpaper just tears right away. And you can't really work with your hand. We needed something with a handle. So my mechanic just said, hey, I'm gonna develop a new tool. And lo and behold, here we go again. Another new tool at Mercedessource. Let me show it to you. Let me show you two of my favorite tools that I use around here when I'm detailing out engine compartments, detailing out parts on the chassis or the suspension, maybe parts that have minor surface rust, brake parts, etc. And it's this right angle air sander. What's so unique about this, or I shouldn't say unique, neat, is it has this head attachment that allows you to put any number of little pads on the end of it. You can go with this Scotch-Brite type pad. These come in different coarseness, and you just take and screw it on like that. See that? And then you hit it with the air and you just grind away. You've seen some of my other videos. You can take that off. You can put on a sanding disc. There's all kinds of sanding discs, different grits available for this tool. Once again, you can use this prepping for auto body filler or paint work. And then you've got other attachments like this rubber piece, which this will actually take off pinstriping. If you get the right one without damaging paint. This is for cleaning things you really don't want to scratch. And this is really cool. And then finally, you've got these polish pads that you can purchase for this attachment too. And you can put your polish compound. This is great, by the way, for polishing chrome trim like this. You keep the polish right where you want it, and you get the high-speed action of this air grinder, and it just really can polish the chrome or aluminum. So, problem with this, guess what? I can't get that into that area that I just showed you. Up there around that coolant reservoir tank and up into that hole where the wiper motor is. This is just too cumbersome to work in there. Now the other favorite tool I have for prepping, for paint and working around light surface rusty areas is this multi-tool. I mean, this is great. You've got all kinds of attachments you can put on this. But the attachment I use most is this Velcro head where you can stick on different types of sanding discs. You can get these triangular sanding discs at most hardware stores, but I like these little finger sanding discs you can just put right on the end like this, and that just allows you to get up and just sand in a really small area. Now that's exactly what I need to do over there on Happier, around that coolant tank. But once again, this tool is too big. It's too big to get into tight places, and certainly can't do anything over there. So we got to looking at the problem, and my mechanic Jerson, he's a genius when it comes to coming up with these little creative tool ideas. He said, what we need is a hand tool. We need a hand tool that'll let us use all these different pads that can get into really tight areas like we're currently working on this 280 SL, and lo and behold, look what he came up with. It's an idea. I don't think I've seen anything like this on the market, but it's basically a hand tool to attach any of these pads that you saw me attach to that air grinder earlier. And we drill the hole so this just screws in, see? You can screw different pads in like this. And notice we played around with the length. We've got a rubber handle on here. What this does, you could say, well, Kent, why don't you just grab a hold of this and rub? Well, you can't get any force on it, and you also can't get down into these cracks and corners that you saw. But when you use this, you can apply a tremendous amount of force with this handle. And the angle gets the handle up away from where you're working, and you can just work this back and forth. We can use sandpaper, we can use any number of these rough pads to work in areas that I'm doing. And you can even put the polish pad on here, okay? I mean, this works great. Can you imagine trying to polish your chrome with this with trying to hang on to it with your fingers? There's no force, there's no leverage. Well, we're going to put this screw this right onto this handle, and we can apply the polish, and we can really get in there and work. Trying to polish a bumper area where you've got to get around underneath and in around behind the bumper guards. This is really cool. So let me tell you, this turned out to be really, really handy. And then we decided, well, we need something that can put these finger sanding pads on. So we, Jerson made this up. This is just a prototype. We don't have the rubber handle on it yet. But using a Velcro on this part, you can get any number of these Velcro attached type of sanding pads that you see here, and we can attach it right here. So what this does is this makes a very effective finger sander. Because once again, try to hang on to that little piece of sandpaper by hand and try to get into an area and sand. You just don't have the strength or the leverage, but putting it on this tool here, you can get right into corners, sand up and all around in places you'd never be able to get to by hand. So there you have it. 2 tools designed specifically for Happier, and yet these are going to be used in a lot of places around the shop here. Now let me just show you briefly how these behave working in and around really tight places. With one of the stiff Scotch-Brite type pads on here, let me show you how this works. See, we've got just the right bend here and a handle to get a hold of this. But what this allows you to do is really exert some force. And I can use this to get underneath the wire. We can work on these pipes, say, work around on the pipes, cleaning and scuffing them, getting ready for paint. I can get the handle down under here and work underneath this tank. And then, of course, coming up into this cutout for the wiper motor, look at what do you think you'd get in there with if you didn't have something like this with a handle? So we'll finish this all up. I can even get under the lip of this fender. And once we have this all cleaned up with this cool little tool, we're going to get ready to paint this. This will finish up the engine compartment. Where do we go from here with these special tools? I'm not sure yet. We're going to keep working on these. This is the beginning of an evolution that occurs around here at Mercedessource when we come up with an idea for a new tool. Once again, it's always to solve a high level of frustration working with any current tools or lack of current tools on the market. So we're going to keep working on this. We're going to keep refining it. I've got quite a bit of rust to work on the 6.3, so that'll help us to develop, do we need more of an angle? Do we need a longer handle? Do we need a different bend in the aluminum? Do we need something stronger? All this comes about as we actually use the tools around here, and we usually do that for 3 or 4 months before we ever come out with a one to sell. So if I have enough interest, I may go ahead and make these. Let me tell you, they are really handy. And you can just check the description below. Right in the beginning of the description, I'll say tool not available yet, or tool is available, and there'll be links there once we get it ready and if we decide to get it ready. So I hope you enjoyed that update on Happier, and we're not done with these yet. We got just a little bit more sanding to do there before we paint that final section in the engine compartment, and then we're getting really close to rolling this baby out and starting it up.